massive shakeups, massive change on a societal level, on a personal level. This is going to be a pivotal moment where a lot of breakthroughs are going to be happening as well as a lot of breakdowns. This is the most important forecast of the entire year, the most important energy of the entire year. Hi everyone, Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I am back with another super exciting extended 2-week forecast. This one is for July 28th all the way through to August 10th, the entire waxing phase of the lunar cycle, beginning with the new moon in the sign of Leo. And this, you guys, is a very, very important forecast. This is the most important forecast of the entire year, the most important energy of the entire year, in my opinion. If you're only going to watch one more astrology forecast to get you through the entire remainder of 2022, let it be this forecast. I know that sounds like overkill, but this alignment that we're having in the coming 2 weeks is like a once-in-a-lifetime experience. This doesn't come around very often, and this is an alignment that's going to stimulate massive shakeups, massive change on a societal level, on a personal level, on an interpersonal level. Nobody's going to escape this transit without something at least shifting a little bit. And so we're going to talk about this in really great detail this week, and the alignment that I'm talking about is, of course, the Uranus conjunction to the North Node with Mars. This energy is forming a T-square with Mercury and with Saturn in the signs of Leo and in the sign of Aquarius. It's activating the ongoing year-and-a-half long Saturn-Uranus square. It's activating this energy of Uranus with the North Node that's been playing out through the eclipse cycles so far, and this is going to be a pivotal moment where a lot of breakthroughs are going to be happening as well as a lot of breakdowns. So this is monumental energy, and especially given where we are right now as a society, we could see a lot of shift going on, a lot of unexpected shock and awe moments. This new moon in the sign of Leo is highlighting this to a certain degree, although this does provide a little bit of a positive outlet because the new moon will be in trine with Jupiter in the sign of Aries. And so that's going to give us a little bit of enthusiasm and positive energy amidst a lot of, uncomfortable stuff that's going to be going on in the astrology and most likely in some of our lives. And so that Jupiter energy is especially important with this new moon because Jupiter is in the sign of Aries, stationing to go retrograde on the exact day of the new moon. So there's a really tight harmonious trine forming while Jupiter is stationing. Jupiter is very prominent and very strong in the sky. So this could be a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of optimism, and this could give us a sense of perspective as we enter into a big new cycle of change. This is going to be, a lot of uncomfortable things that we're going to have to be facing, I would say, over the next couple of weeks. But the benefit of this energy, especially starting with that new moon and that new moon occurring sort of simultaneously with all of this disruptive influence, is that we do get this sense of perspective. We get the gift of being able to pull ourselves out of the nitty gritty and out of the actual situation on the ground and kind of look at it from a bird's eye view and see where this is heading, see where this is going, see what the end result is likely to be in a more positive sense. Because there is a lot of good that can come from the change, from the shakeup, from the pivots we're going to be making, especially the ones that are the least expected. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Before we get into all of that, I just want to mention, for those of you who are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Heather Eland. I'm a professional astrologer and astrology teacher. I specialize in teaching my students who are struggling to put all of the pieces together to learn to give meaningful, accurate astrology readings with confidence. The best way I do that is through my Cosmic Academy of Astrology. You can find information and the waitlist down at the link below. And even if you are not not ready for a full-on course, I have a free gift for you, my Astrology 101 PDF guide, which will give you everything you need to know to get started with learning the signs, the planets, the houses, the aspects, and more. It'll help you to understand these videos and your birth chart more fully so you can understand what the heck I'm talking about in these forecasts in a lot more detail. And also make sure you hit that subscribe button because I do a new astrology update, either a forecast or a tutorial, almost every single Saturday at 9 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time, and you don't want to miss that. And in these videos, the way that I structure them is I always start with a 5 to 10 minute general overview. This one might be a little bit longer. Do not skip this, especially in this forecast, because there's a lot going on. This is going to be really intense, and I'm not going to go over this over and over again in each of the 12 sign forecasts. Those are going to be a little bit more focused and detailed when it comes to your personal astrology. Speaking of which, when I do get into the forecast for all 12 signs, make sure you listen to your rising sign, your sun sign, and your moon sign to get a more holistic overview of the energy for the next 2 weeks. Your rising sign will be the most predominant energy, your sun sign will be secondary, and your moon sign is important to listen to as well, although this energy will be more internalized and subjective. Finally, at the end of every video, I do a 2 to 3 minute overview of the next 2 weeks forecast, which will be beginning with the super intense full moon in the sign of Aquarius, which is activating a lot of what we're going to be talking about today. You definitely don't want to miss that because it's another pivotal moment, another shake-up energy, and so we'll talk about that at the end of the video. So kind of getting back into what we're talking about here and what we're doing right now. So let's begin with the first things first. We have a new moon happening on July 28th in the sign of Leo at 5 degrees. This is going to be in a trine with Jupiter, which is stationing to go retrograde in the sign of Aries at 8 degrees. As I mentioned before, this is going to be a little bit more of an optimistic energy. Although there's going to be a lot of intensity around this new moon, a lot of really crunchy energy, a lot of stress, a lot of psychological a lot of fear and a lot of sort of psychological distress being brought up, even when there's nothing maybe tangible going on to account for it. And so there's going to be a lot, right? We're going to be feeling a lot of pressure. We're going to be feeling a lot of anxiety. We're going to be feeling a lot of almost like this energy of like we need to make something happen. We're going to be feeling very rushed, very impulsive, very activated in a lot of different ways. And for some people, this will come across in a really positive fashion. And for some, it'll feel a little bit less comfortable. And of course, we'll dive into that when we get into the forecast for all 12 signs. But with this new moon, just know that that's happening at the same time as the new moon. So even though this should otherwise be a very gregarious, heartfelt, jovial, like happy, expressive energy for the new moon, as far as new moons go, it's being kind of contradicted by some of the other influences that are going on, and it's to a certain extent helping to activate those influences. It is going to be in a square with that Uranus-Mars North Node conjunction within an orb of about 13 degrees. And so it's still actually touching all of that. It's touching that T-square, or that grand fixed cross, actually. It should really be, because the North and South Node are both involved. And it's, it's good and bad. So we're going to be feeling that optimism. We're going to be like, okay, I can see where this is heading. I feel really, open-hearted about all of this. I feel hopeful about all of this. I can see what actions I need to take to make this into something really positive. But again, there's going to be some crunchiness. And I think that, in terms of the way this is going to impact everyone as a whole, there's going to be no way to really avoid the kind of chaotic energy that's going on, especially over these next 2 weeks. But this has been ongoing. I mean, we've had this energy activated on and off throughout the year already. It's been getting stronger and stronger. And so the disruptions we're seeing in society as a whole, are reflected in this energy, or are a reflection of this energy, some might say. So we'll see an increase in that. And so kind of to break it down a little bit more so, we need to kind of take this bit by bit. So Uranus has been in the sign of Taurus since 2018, and a lot of the things that I've been saying since the beginning about Uranus and Taurus have come to fruition, especially in the past couple of years, with Uranus and Taurus being associated with, financial disruption in the financial markets, disruptions with the food supply chain, new innovations in agriculture, good and bad, some very bad. Things of that nature, right? So we've been seeing a lot of that. There's definitely been a lot of volatility in the crypto markets. That's been a thing too. There's like so many things. If you guys haven't seen this video that I did, I think it was in 2017 or 2018, I'll float it around up here about that Uranus and Taurus energy and what seemed to be coming up for that. And you can see kind of where we're at in that regard. So that's the first component of it. So right now we're having a lot of disruptions in the sign of Taurus with things that have otherwise been very fixed and very stable, or at least we believe them or felt them to be very fixed and very stable in a very tangible sort of way, like food security, like, finance and financial security, like, the agricultural realm and all that too. What's interesting too is Taurus is like the bull, and there's been a lot of disruptions in the meat industry, especially with like cattle and things like that in the United States. I'm sure other places are having similar weirdness. So, we're seeing that. We're seeing that already. The North Node is also so not only is Uranus an energy that brings disruption and brings things that are unexpected or brings change in a way that is unexpected, but we also have the North Node involved. The North Node shows us the direction that we're heading into as a society. And the North Node conjunct Uranus has always been associated with new innovations in technology that maybe aren't recognized in the moment as being as significant as they end up being later on as they continue to unfold and develop. And so we're going to see a lot of that where there's things that are starting right now that'll really be more impactful later on. I discussed this a little bit in the video I did about the North Node shifting into Taurus and the South Node shifting into Scorpio. That's also floating around up here, and I spoke about it in detail in my Navigating the Astrology of 2022 webinar, which is available still in the Cosmic community, along with a whole bunch of other astrological tutorials and webinars. And so you can access that down in the description below. I'm actually giving 50% off the first month right now, so you can review that and also learn a bunch of astrology. But so basically with the North Node in the sign of Taurus, there's this insatiable need to change things that, again, have otherwise been really stable, or an insatiable need to try to create stability with that Saturn square amidst a lot of instability. So it's like trying to hold on to the way things are, or hold on to some sort of structure or some sort of foundation or some sort of sense of normalcy while everything is kind of in flux. I think that this will bring a lot of cognitive dissonance around like what's going on in our personal lives and collectively versus like what we want to believe is going on. That's kind of been a thing already, but I think that's going to be more impactful on a personal level throughout this. Like, oh, I can still make this happen. I can keep things the way they were and still make all these changes and do all these really exciting things and break free from this, sort of bond that I don't want anymore. I could still keep it this way though too while I do all of this, when really you can't. Or hey, everything's just going to stay the same. These changes won't really impact me over here or over there, and they probably will. So that kind of thing where, we might be reluctant to acknowledge some of the stuff that's going on, or our reluctance to kind of jump in and just go with the energy could prevent things from unfolding in a more positive fashion. That's another thing too. So you want to be mindful of the fact that we really do need to make some changes right now. All of us are going to be pushed into some sort of discomfort and some sort of need to shift and do things differently. It's just a matter of how and in what way. And it's very likely that the changes that need to unfold in your life have already started to take hold. It's just that they're going to come about in ways that were unexpected or very different from what you had in your brain. And then there will be some unexpected things because Mars is also in the mix. And so we have Mars, which is a very, even in the sign of Taurus, where it's a little bit slow, right? So there's this pressure to like really want to move in and jump in and change something immediately. It's like, oh my God, this got disrupted. I cannot stand this. I must do something. It must change right now. Where, Taurus is a slower moving energy. It's about really covering your bases, doing your homework, making sure that you have all of your ducks in a row, making sure that what you're jumping into is stable before you leap into it. But a lot of people, I think, are going to be just leaping without actually making sure that what they're leaping into is sustainable. And that's another kind of key word of Taurus, sustainability. So looking at whether or not what you're doing right now is sustainable into the future, looking at whether or not what we're doing as a society is sustainable into the future. And there could be some dramatic changes that people are making or that in society are being made that we think are geared towards stability, but we're really not looking at it in an appropriate light. We're looking at certain pieces of it, and it's going to cause probably more instability moving forward. That can be said for our personal lives too, where you really need to take into account the whole picture, not rush into things too crazy, but you are going to have to address some stuff. You are going to have to make some changes. I would say with the Mercury component of this, there's going to be some really unexpected news, some really unexpected messages that we'll be receiving, some really weird conversations and communications, also just some really big inspirations and ideas that we'll have that could help facilitate the change that we need to make. And especially if you're thinking long term, it's like people right now are going to be trying to make short-term like changes and short-term fixes because of the discomfort that really are not taking into account like the long-term goals, the long-term needs. And that's Saturn, right? It's kind of like what's best for you in the long term versus what is exciting right now, what you want to change right now, what discomfort you're facing that you want to alleviate right now. Looking at that versus the delayed gratification of what you could accomplish into the future if you weren't so caught up in the moment. So yeah, you kind of have to balance that. There's a need for change, but there's a need to make sure that you can see it through, you can stick it out, and that you're not just being reactionary to something because right now you don't like it or because right now you're really excited about something, because that could be the flip side. You want to make sure that what you're doing is sustainable. This could also be, for a lot of people, disruptions in very physical ways just because of this earth energy and this fixed energy, where you could have like a physical disruption where there could be a disruption maybe for some people to their finances. I mean, that could definitely be a thing. But there could be a disruption to like your place of living or like your health or like something very tangible and physical like a vehicle or something along those lines that could come up because it isn't a very physical sign. So I think we'll see a lot of physicality as opposed to just mental stress that could come along with these changes. And it's not just mental stress. Like some people are going to feel really stressed out by this, but people who are aligned a little bit more nicely in the chart with this or have this alignment in their chart a little bit, nicer and more positive and more harmonious, they're going to be feeling this in a way that it's just really exciting and really invigorating. And you're having this like visceral energy where it's like, I'm excited about this. I'm going to launch into this. I'm going to do this. And it might work out a little bit easier. And for other people also who are more prone to taking risks, who like taking risks, who like change, who thrive amidst uncertainty, which there are people like that. These types of people I think are going to do really well with this energy too, as opposed to people who are very risk averse, who like don't adverse, but who like don't really enjoy change and shift and who are really kind of stuck in their comfort zones. This is going to be a needed unraveling and a needed kind of jolt to push you in a different direction. And that's where you're going to find that Saturnian component being more of a hindrance as opposed to people launching in all crazy and all willy-nilly. So if you maybe have a lot of fixed energy in your chart or you're really Saturnian yourself, you could have this problem where the universe wants you to change. Everything is unfolding so you can take hold of these new opportunities. But you're looking at it and you're like, that seems uncomfortable. This seems safe because it's been the way it's been for so long. When in the end, the safe route is actually not the safe route anymore. And the comfortable route is going to feel more and more and more like the walls are closing in. So we need to, again, strike that balance. That's the biggest kind of takeaway of this energy that I want to drive home for you guys. And so, yeah, this is going to be a big one. This has been an energy that's been ongoing for quite some time now, for all of this year. This is an energy that even started during the Saturn-Uranus square all through 2021 that's being reactivated, which is that energy of wanting to push, 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 but having to take your time and having these unexpected delays. And, you know, I have videos about that too. I'll float some around here so you can get, again, a clearer picture because there's so much going on. I want you guys to have all the forecasts and all the insights. But yeah, so that's what's going on these next couple of weeks. The main dates for these are July 28th is the new moon in Leo and the Jupiter stationing retrograde. We have on that same day, Mercury is squaring Uranus and the North Node and the South Node on July 28th also. So it's a pivotal moment of that discomfort and that change and maybe a weird surprising message. Things are about to get strange, you guys, like really strange. And then we have Mercury opposing Saturn on July 31st. The North Node is conjunct Uranus exact on July 31st. And then Mars is going to connect with the North Node and Uranus on August 1st. So that time period, the 28th through the 1st or 2nd, is the really intense period where it's almost like this like supernova waiting to explode, and then all of a sudden it goes poosh, and everything starts to happen. It doesn't mean that everything happens all at once. It's just kind of that peak moment where the things that have been building are finally starting to be unleashed and released. And after that, we're still going to be going through the changes. So it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks. I'm kind of excited for it. I know it's going to be you know, bumpy, but I think that this could bring the change that we need in a lot of our lives. And so we'll see how this goes. And so let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs. But before we do, I just want to mention that, you know, if you are looking to prepare even more so for this lunar month ahead, make sure you check out my Cosmic community. I'm doing a new moon gathering. I do it every single month for this new moon in the sign of Leo, the entire lunar month ahead, where we go through bit by bit all of the most important energies, how to navigate it, how to work with it. And also I go through the electional astrology for the month ahead, and I give you the best dates for if you have to initiate something, if you want to initiate something, if there's something important coming up, so that way you can plan for success and actually have, you know, thrive during some craziness here and get things accomplished. And so we do that in the new moon gatherings as well. Of course, as I mentioned before, you have access to a ton of different astrology webinars on things like Chiron, navigating challenging influences in the birth chart, career and vocational astrology, the astrology of psychic abilities, and there's so much in there. So you'll have to check it out. Again, link is down in the description below. You get 50% off your first month right now. So, all right, let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning, of course, with Aries and Aries rising. Okay, and so for Aries and for Aries rising, this new moon energy is actually really nice for you. So this new moon is going to be trining your ascendant sun or moon. You have Jupiter in your sign. This is going to be a very optimistic outlook that you have, especially when it comes to the changes that are unfolding across many different areas in your life. You could have unexpected surges of passion, excitement, joy. You could have unexpected opportunities to connect with your joy, to do things that you love, to just have a little bit of fun. And that's really going to be where you're going to find solace, especially that first week of this lunar cycle, where, you know, if you do have some financial pressure or some disruption on a very physical level, you know, going out and just doing something that is fun for you, that you love, that's connected to your heart, can be a really great way to kind of pull yourself out of the midst of the chaos and to see things from a better perspective, from that bird's eye view, to understand where things are going and to feel really hopeful if things feel really stressful, which they might. I mean, for you, it's not. For you, it is quite physical. So for Aries and for Aries rising, you have a lot of really intense change coming about, especially in the area of finance, in the area of money, in the area of the way that you earn your living, the way that you save your money, the way that you spend your money. I would say that there could be an unexpected big purchase that could come up that you might need to make or really want to make. There could be a need to save your money or invest it in a new way. There could be a need to change the way that you actually create resources through getting a new job. There could be a new financial opportunity that comes to you. The hesitation relocation in this arena could come through what your friends might think, what your family might say, what other people might have to input into this. And so it's not really about them, it's about you. It's about what you need, what you want, what you desire in order to create more financial freedom for yourself into the future. And that's really what this is about. It's about a disruption to your financial stability that's going to lead you to liberate yourself and create more freedom and more independence with your finances moving forward. And so that's a big part of this energy. There could also be again, some challenges, some disruptions, some difficulties that come through your social circle, through your friend group. Also with your partner's resources, it could also just be, especially if you're somebody who's in partnership, you relying more on your own income versus, you know, the income that's coming in through your partner, or relying more on your money that you're creating and less on debt and on credit cards and things like that. So this could be quite positive, but in the moment, you're going to get kind of like a rude awakening. It's almost like, this doesn't feel good. I don't like how what came about, even though, yeah, it's going to be like, this came about very shocking, very unexpectedly. There's this like thing that happens, this event that transpires. And it's like, I don't like this. I don't like how this feels. This is uncomfortable. So I need to change the way I'm dealing with my money. Okay. And then for Taurus and for Taurus rising. So for Taurus, this is happening in your sign. So this new moon energy, it's going to be creating or simulating the need for new beginnings when it comes to your home, your family, your property, your real estate, your place of living, and your roots. And that's going to be where you're going to find a source of maybe inspiration or a source of just having a better perspective. So like your family can help give you a sense of perspective amidst a lot of change. That can be your source of inspiration. That can be your source of positivity. Your home life, your home environment, although that might be shifting a little bit as well. You're going to be able to see the opportunities that are going to come out of that a lot more clearly than maybe in some of the other areas of your life. And it is going to help ground you into that sense of perspective, that sense of hope, that sense of optimism. So connecting with your family, connecting with your roots, connecting just with your home, that can be really powerful, especially this first week of the lunar cycle. But this energy is going to be pretty disruptive for Taurus, especially if you're a Taurus sun, moon, or rising, anywhere from 15 to 21 degrees. You're going to be feeling this very powerfully. This is going to be an intense moment of shock and awe. It's like, oh my goodness, this unexpected circumstances, crazy, wild, weird energy just came up out of nowhere. And now I have to pivot. Now I have to change. Now I have to drop what I was doing and shift and move in a completely new direction. This could turn your whole world upside down. However, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. There's something going on though in your career, in your public standing, or in your relationship with somebody in a position of power and authority, or in your relationship with the government even, that could be preventing you from going all in on the thing that you want to create. It's kind of like you're feeling so frustrated with your current circumstances, your current paradigm, who you once were, who you are supposed to be based on other people's guidelines, on other people's expectations, that you just want to throw it all out and start fresh. And that's okay. You're definitely going to make these changes. You definitely are going to be starting fresh, but there's some responsibilities that you have to carry out and adhere to. There's some considerations you need to make for how this will impact your career, your public standing, your relationship with those in power, and just what you're putting out there and doing out there in the world. You've built so much already. You don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. So make sure you're keeping that in mind and thinking about the long-term implications and whether or not the changes that you are about to make are sustainable. Don't just make those changes because you feel uncomfortable or excited right now, because you want to make sure that this is going to be lasting in its impact and positive in its impact in the future. And so that's a big part of what's going on here. There could definitely be a lot of shifts in relationships for Taurus as well, especially Taurus rising people. Basically, the energy is changing a lot in your relationships, a lot for you personally, a lot for, you know, even like your home and your family environment. You might decide you want to move, and that could be where you find the hope. Like all of this is coming and you're like, you know what? I need a fresh start. I need a new location. And if that's the case, you can absolutely do that. And I think that will be a source of hope and optimism and positivity amidst this change that will give you that perspective and that fresh outlook that you need in order to create the change that you need to create. So all of these things are potentials for Taurus. Yeah, I would say it's a big a big 2 weeks for Taurus rising and Taurus people. So, you know, just buckle up, expect the unexpected, plan really lightly, because whatever you think is going to happen is going to change. There will be unexpected things that come up, good, bad, all over the place. You know, hopefully more positive than everything else overall. But the end result, I think, is going to be quite nice for you, Taurus. You're going to break out of a lot of stagnant energy and you're going to feel super liberated. You're going to become who you truly are, free out in the world. And that is always a good thing. So this is about you asserting your will, asserting your independence, and becoming more of who you truly are. Okay. And for Gemini and for Gemini rising. So for Gemini, this energy with the new moon is actually quite positive for you in your friendships, in your relationships, in your like networks and communications with people on a day-to-day basis, in your you know, in your neighborhood, in your community, in your relationship with people who surround you. All of these things are really positive. So you have this energy of maybe getting a fresh outlook, a fresh start, a fresh source of inspiration and optimism through your connections and interactions with other people. Your relationships are what you can lean on, especially during this first week of this new lunar cycle. That's where you're going to get that fresh perspective you need. On the opposite end of that, there's a lot of disruption going on here involving especially endings. So it's kind of like there's something disruptive that's going on that's causing you to purge and end a lot of cycles in your life. This is also a disruptive energy that's very shocking or unexpected, that could come from like an unknown or unseen source. So it could almost be like a secret that's revealed that shakes you out of complacency and that rattles you, especially on that internal level. It could be, you know, that there's some sort of thing that's going on behind the scenes that you didn't know about, that all of a sudden comes to light, and it does disrupt things, and it causes you to have to end something or a cycle in your life that's long overdue. It could simply be that you have this internal sense of frustration that you can't really put your finger on. For you, Gemini, this is less tangible than it is for some of the other signs. I would also say, though, for Geminis, be very aware of your health over the next couple of weeks. That doesn't mean that something bad will happen. It just means that this is a time where you want to take extra care to make sure that you're doing all of your good self-care routines, that you're doing all of your good health routines, that you're eating the good things, because, you know, that's going to help set you up for success, as opposed to, you know, the opposite end of that. So you want to just be very careful about what you're putting into your body and what you're engaging with, not just physically, but mentally, psychologically, and emotionally over these next couple of weeks. You need to have a good information diet. So I think that's the term that people use for it, where you're making sure that what you're consuming mentally and information-wise and psychologically and emotionally, that's going to be just as important as what you're consuming physically, to keep you on track and to keep you healthy, to keep you feeling good, and to keep you like at your best at a time where underneath the surface it might not be external as much as it will be for some of the other signs, the changes that are occurring. But you know, on the surface, people might not know that you're going through something, but you're going through something. Something deep inside of you is shifting and changing, and you want to be prepared for that. This could also be you embracing a new form of spirituality, or a new spiritual or religious practice even. And this is a really great time for you to turn inward. It's going to feel very hard for you to spend time alone in solitude and seclusion, because you're going to feel like energetically very scattered and very all over the place. But that's where you're going to figure out what you really need to change. Your dreams will be a really great source of inspiration for you right now. You know, meditations, journaling, doing things like that are very solitary, that help kind of release some of this energy. This could also be, you know, an energy of just trying to really learn something new, not just in spirituality, but in general, where you really decide that you need to go deep and you need to spend time away from the world so you can hone in on this new craft. And that could actually be a little challenging for you, or maybe a lot challenging for you, especially if you are a typical Gemini who's quite social. This could be a time where you are forced to spend more time in seclusion, even if it's not by choice. And there could be some very disruptive, shocking circumstances that do come up on a physical level involving 12th house institutions like prisons, hospitals, rehabilitation centers, places like that where, it's hidden away from the world, it's away from normal society. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to prison or something like that, but there could be something going on with that, in your immediate circle that you, for some reason, have to deal with. That's obviously going to be a specific subset of Geminis, but that is a potential. Again, lean on your relationships. You'll get through this with a much more optimistic perspective, and you'll have the vantage point to be able to see what you need to do and where you need to go. For Cancer and for Cancer rising. So for Cancer, this new moon energy is happening in your second house of finances. So kind of the good perspective, the positive energy that's going to pull you out of the riffraff is going to be focusing on your career, focusing on your financial goals, focusing on the physical, tangible goals that you have for yourself now and into the future, because that's where things are looking optimistic. That's where you're going to get that sense of perspective, where the things that are changing in other areas of your life are changing because, it's going to lead to this whole bigger picture. So that's a source of like goodness, good vibes, good energy. But there is going to be some disruptive energy as well. This is an energy that's going to be disruptive, especially to your social circle, to your connections with other people. It could be positive for Cancers more so than a lot of the other signs. This is also trining your descendant if you're a Cancer ascendant, a Cancer rising. And this is going to be sextiling your ascendant sun or moon, regardless of what you are in Cancer. And so, this is going to cause you to change things in a very dramatic way, but in a way that's a little bit more gentle and easy to acclimate to, as opposed to some of the other signs. And so there could be major changes going on in all of your relationships right now, but those changes are going to be ultimately really positive. It could be that you're asserting your independence within your partnership and doing things that are more exciting and liberating for yourself and with yourself, or it could be that you're doing things that are more exciting and liberating and stimulating within that partnership. And that could be a romantic partnership, it could be a close personal relationship, a business partnership where you're doing new, innovative, like outside of the box things that are very unusual, very strange, very different from the norm for you. And that could actually turn out very well for you and feel very liberating. This could also bring in a liberating new relationship, especially a friendship, but even a romantic partnership could come up right now where it's very shocking, very unexpected. You're going to be connecting with people where it feels very fated, it feels very karmic, it feels synchronistic, and it feels really intense. And these are people who you normally wouldn't even consider connecting with, like very outside of your normal social circle. So all of these things are potentials for you right now. There could be some financial hurdles that come up, especially if over the past couple of years you've had these on and off like roadblocks and pivots and challenges, especially with other people's money, with debt, with your partner's resources, but really with finances in general. That could come up for you again. So it's kind of a continuation of a similar energy to what you've been experiencing, where you're still having to deal with this. It's going to be dealing with it in a new way though, or having a new perspective on it. Okay, and then for Leo and for Leo rising. So for Leo, this is a lot of disruptive energy for you for sure, but this new moon does give you a really powerful, really positive sense of perspective, more so than really any of the other signs, because it's in your sign, but also Jupiter's trining your sign. And so especially if you're a Leo ascendant, sun, or moon anywhere from 0 to 10 degrees, you'll be feeling the more positive energy of this enhanced versus some of the more challenging energies, although it is a mixed bag for you. So this is where you're going to be able to, your worldview is going to shift in a way where you're going to be very open and very optimistic about the possibilities and the potentials that could unfold throughout this period of change that's reverberating across your entire life. This is going to be a big new beginning or a big impact that's happening when it comes to your career, your public reputation, your relationship with people in positions of authority, your connection to government even, or the legacy that you leave behind after your working years. Typically, this is most connected to career, but for some people, it's going to be in a lot of different areas. And so this is a shock and awe moment where all of a sudden an unexpected hurdle, an unexpected opportunity, an unexpected change, or an unexpected challenge shows up in the weirdest possible way. You're going to really want to try to hold on to stability, especially through maybe business partnerships or work-related partnerships or relationships with colleagues or something along those lines. But it's not going to be possible to keep things as they were in your career or in this area of public reputation, the public arena moving forward. So you're going to have to shift, you're going to have to change, and you're going to be going all in on something. Something's going to happen and you're going to have this visceral response where it's like, oh my gosh, I know what I need to do, or oh my gosh, I need to address this and change something. And in the moment, it's probably going to feel stressful or uncomfortable, but in the end, this is going to be truly and deeply liberating. You are moving into a brand new phase that's more aligned with your destiny, with your path, and with your purpose in the work that you're doing out in the world. And so this is a big moment for you, Leo. It's really powerful. You yourself could have like a message that comes to you directly, or you could say something that inadvertently triggers or catalyzes this disruption or this change, where it's like, I said this and I didn't really think about it, and now all of a sudden there's these reverberations and I have to change my job, or I have to, do this, or it led to maybe a new job opportunity. And yes, this is great, but oh my gosh, this is such a disruption, and I liked things the way that they were, but now I have this new thing. So there's a lot that could go on with this for Leos. Okay, and so for Virgo and for Virgo rising. So for Virgo, this new moon is happening in your 12th house. So, the place where you're going to find reprieve is in solitude and seclusion, spending time focusing on your spiritual practices, spending time, doing creative work behind the scenes. Spending time sleeping, napping even, would be a really great way for Virgos to turn off your brain while everything's all like jumbly. Especially for you, this is going to be a very mental energy. And to turn off your brain and to just kind of decompress and to get that newfound sense of perspective on all of the things that are changing in your life, because there's a reason, there's a purpose for this season that you're in right now. And you're going to be able to see that much more clearly when you're not actively trying to see it. So spend more time in receptivity to navigate this, especially during that first week of the lunar cycle. But this energy for Virgos is not as challenging as it will be for a lot of the other signs. I would say take care around your health and make sure that you're sticking to your health routines and your regimens and things like that, like your vitamins, your diet, your exercise. Virgos are really good at that normally, but there's something that's going on here that's going to be really exciting, that's going to throw you in a new direction, that could take that off kilter, and you could, suffer as a result of that. I wouldn't say that it's like going to be something, major or anything like that. But, you want to just make sure that you're holding on to that and you're not neglecting your body, because you might have a big travel plan, a big new opportunity, something really exciting that connects you with a foreign culture, a foreign land, a new educational opportunity, a new teacher, a new perspective on life. This is also going to be for Virgos a shock and awe moment when it comes to your paradigm and your worldview. It's like you viewed the world a certain way and you thought it was like in this one perspective, and all of a sudden, like something happens. It could be something that happens out in the world, because we will have disruptions out in the world at this time, or it could be something that happens in your immediate environment, and all of a sudden the way that you perceive the world, the way that you think about this reality, the way that you think about yourself and your life, your beliefs are shattered, absolutely shattered, and you have to think about it in a new way, and that could be deeply uncomfortable. Also, it'll be extremely liberating and extremely exciting. It's like, holy crap, everything that I was told or that I thought was not true, or it was a lie, maybe not everything, but this thing that's really important to me, and now I see it clearly. I can't believe that I did this for so long, but now look at this. I'm liberated. I'm excited. I'm going to explore this path. I'm going to go down this rabbit hole. I'm going to learn this new perspective. So that could be really exciting. You could have a breakthrough in your education. You could have an unexpected breakthrough in teaching or delivering information or publishing. And so this is really exciting for the most part. Again, the main thing is just making sure that you're not overdoing it. You're not neglecting your day-to-day habits and routines, that you're using those as a platform to launch into whatever it is that you're moving forward into, that you feel very excited about over the course of these next couple of weeks. For Libra and for Libra rising, this new moon energy is happening in your 11th house, and it's trining Jupiter, which is stationing to go retrograde in your 7th house of partnerships. And so relationships are the area where you're going to find solace. Relationships are the area where you're going to get a fresh perspective that's much more optimistic, that's much more enthusiastic, that's much more positive on whatever is going on in your life, because there's a lot of changes afoot. Right now you have Mars, Uranus, and the North Node in your 8th house. And so this means there could be some sort of unexpected, out of the blue, very strange disruption that occurs in the area of finances, especially joint finances, partnership and marriage, right? Your marriage partner or your partner in general, their finances could be up for a rearranging, and it could be a little uncomfortable. It could also be that there's some sort of unexpected circumstance or opportunity that comes your way involving debt, involving a loan, involving getting financing for something. Just make sure that if that's the case, that you're thinking it through and then you're not just jumping the gun because it seems like a really good opportunity in the moment. You want to make sure that anything that you move into financially is sustainable. It's something that can be long lasting. It's something that will benefit you, not just right now in the moment to alleviate some discomfort or to get you to a short-term goal, but it's something that will last well into the future. This is also a time where, you could have some triggering of past wounds, past traumas, past insecurities, past vulnerabilities. There could also be power struggles at play right now, especially between you and people in your immediate social circle. And so there could be communication that comes in that's very disruptive, that could cause a little bit of a power play, or it could cause, some sort of discord within your friend group. And so you want to just be aware of that and know that this is one of those situations where you want to take the time to respond to what's being said, respond to the situation, as opposed to just like reacting to it without thinking it through, because there could be long-term implications for that connection, for that relationship that you might not really be accounting for in the moment. This is where a lot is going to shift when it comes to your not just your financial situation, but also when it comes to triggers of fear and anxiety in your life, things that are holding power over you from the past. This is a time where those things might come up or come back around again, not necessarily in real time, but something could trigger those emotions, and that could cause you to think about and look for new and innovative ways to heal yourself on all levels, to heal yourself from the inside out. So these issues from your past that are not related to the current circumstances are no longer affecting you in the present moment. This is also a time where, your passions and the things that you love might inhibit you from making the moves you need to be making financially. So, just make sure that you are making changes where you need to make them. Something needs to change with your financial situation. It's just a matter of to what degree and in what direction. For Scorpio and for Scorpio rising. So for Scorpio, this energy is happening with the new moon in your 10th house of career and public reputation. This is in a trine with Jupiter, which is stationing to go retrograde in your 6th house of work, health, and daily routines. And this is an area where you're going to find solace. This is an area where you're going to get a fresh perspective on the situation that's occurring in other areas of your life, because you're going through a major transformation that reverberates across many different components of your experience. And so this new moon energy in your 10th house shows that there's like a fresh start and a new beginning happening for you in your career, or in your work, or in your relationship with somebody in a position of power and authority, or in kind of the legacy you leave behind after your working years, or your public standing, or what you put out there into the world. This is what you should be focusing on. This is where you're going to be able to understand from that bird's eye view, from that broader perspective, what all of these changes going on in other areas of your life and in your career are going to be amounting to. That's where you're going to get that optimism. And so there are a lot of changes going on here. Uranus, the North Node, and Mars are in a conjunction in your 7th house of relationships. This is a major shock and awe moment when it comes to your partnerships. Something in your partnerships is about to shift or change in a direction that you never could have anticipated or expected. But this change that might come about quite quickly is leading you to a more liberating and more exciting and more fulfilling experience overall when it comes to your partnerships. And so that's really exciting, but there could be some discord there. There could be arguments or disputes, or it could be that you need to actually liberate yourself from an important relationship. That doesn't necessarily always mean like a romantic partner or a marriage partner. It could be a business partnership or a close friendship where all of a sudden you realize this is not the direction I need to move into. I need to go a different path. It could also be a new relationship comes in. Again, not just romantic, it could be a close friendship, it could be any sort of one-on-one connection with somebody that feels really exciting, that feels really liberating, that gets you just super passionate, super fired up to move in a different direction, do things in a completely different way. And this would most likely be with someone who's very different from who you would normally connect with. And just know that if you're doing this to alleviate discomfort or just to shake things up because you're bored in the moment, it's not going to be sustainable and that could cause problems. And so just make sure that whatever changes you're making in connection with other people, that there's something that's going to be long lasting or have some sort of long-term benefit, that you're thinking it all through. There could be a message that comes through your work or from a boss or a superior that causes disruption or discord personally or interpersonally. There could be an idea that you share in the workplace to your boss or to somebody in a position of authority that again causes discord personally or interpersonally. There's something you're trying to change and move forward with or work on involving your home, your family, your property that is just stuck or stagnant. It's not moving forward. You might get a little bit of a break from that, but the change that you need to make in order to accomplish your goals in that area where you feel stuck, that's going to be uncomfortable. So embrace change, embrace discomfort because it's going to be happening. But, just know that whatever it is that you do, make sure that you're not simply doing it on impulse because in the moment it's exciting or in the moment it feels uncomfortable and you want to change it. Make sure that you're thinking long term. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. So for Sagittarius, this new moon is happening in your 9th house, which is the house of adventure, foreign travel, connections with people in other countries. It's the house of higher wisdom, your perspective on life, your perspective on your reality. And for Sagittarius, especially if you're a Sagittarius sun, moon, or rising anywhere from, I would say 0 to 10 degrees, you're going to be feeling very optimistic about the outcomes of the changes and the disruptions that are occurring in your life over these next couple of weeks. And that's a good thing. So your greatest sense of perspective is this newfound sense of perspective. You're going to be able to see how all of these different changes, all of these different things that are shifting and rearranging in your life, although they're uncomfortable, although they're disruptive, you're going to be able to see how they're going to help you to connect more fully with your passions and with the things that light you up well into the future. And so that is a good thing. For Sagittarius, there is a Mars Uranus North Node conjunction in your 6th house, which is the house of daily routines and your work. And so your work is going to be super disrupted. You might have some unexpected complications and unexpected opportunities that come up that throw everything off kilter. But these are things that, for in a lot of ways might need to be embraced because these opportunities could liberate you from the mundane, the boring, the status quo when it comes to your work. There could be, unfortunately, discord or complicated conversations that come up with coworkers or with especially employees or people who work for you. And that doesn't necessarily mean that like you're in a management or higher level position in a company or something like that and you have employees and there's discord. It could be literally as simple as you employ somebody to fix your car and you have a difficult situation or a difficult experience with that person that gets out of hand. And so when those situations arise, make sure that you're responding and not just reacting because you want to think about the implications of this long term and how this could affect you into the future, not just right now. This is also an energy where you're going to have really new and exciting ideas. And your perspective in your entire worldview might change as a result of the spontaneous experiences that are very strange that are going to be going on in your day-to-day work and life experience. And so that could be really exciting and really liberating for you, but also kind of like jarring, where it's like, I thought things were one way and now I'm having this experience and my whole worldview has to change and now I have to adapt to that, which Sagittarius is a little bit better at that than some of the other signs, being mutable and all. This is also a time to take care of your health. You might be gung-ho about like launching into a strange new diet program or supplement regimen or workout routine. Make sure that you're thinking it through, that you're getting all of the information and that it's something that's sustainable, if that is the case. And also just make sure on a day-to-day basis that you're not rushing through things, because you are going to be a little bit more accident prone. That doesn't necessarily mean a big catastrophic event, but you know, things like dropping things, breaking things, cutting your finger, stubbing your toe, bumping your head. You don't want to have to do that. There could also be a very shocking and unexpected occurrence that involves animals or pets. So, you know, just be mindful of your pets. Make sure your gates are locked, everybody's tags are up to date and things like that. There could be like an escape situation or something along those lines. And so again, you just want to be really, really mindful and take care of your pets. Or it could just be a new pet that you get and it's disruptive but exciting. So that could be part of it too. For Capricorn and for Capricorn rising. For Capricorn, this is an energy where, or actually the new moon is happening in your 8th house, which is the house of debt, joint finances, your marriage partner's finances, things of that nature. So other people's money. It's also the house of deep healing. It's where you heal yourself from the inside out. It's your psychological traumas, your deep-seated wounds and insecurities that come from your past experiences. It's where your fears hide out. And so this is an area where you might be getting a fresh perspective on those types of experiences, those types of situations, a fresh perspective on your fears, or especially on like family or ancestral traumas or things that happened in your early childhood experience, where you're seeing them in a different light, and that's going to be a really healing experience and really powerful for you. This is a time where you might have a disruptive energy going on when it comes to the things that you love to do. So you might have a very exciting, unexpected opportunity to connect with a new hobby, a new interest, something that you never ever thought you would want to explore. All of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm really lit up about this. And so that could be really exciting and definitely a thread to follow. Just make sure that if it requires money, if it requires actual material objects, that you are thinking long term and that you actually have the physical and financial material foundations to sustain this passion project of yours, because that's where things could get a little discordant. This is also an energy where unexpected, really shocking, really out of the blue circumstances could come up involving your children, or, you know, this could be like an unexpected pregnancy for some of you, or a child showing up in your life in a way that's unexpected. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's your child or that it's a pregnancy, but it could be something involving children or a child that shows up in a very unexpected way, and it's kind of like shocking, and it's like, oh God, I didn't plan for this. But in the end, it ends up being very liberating, and it helps you connect more truly to your joy and to your passions, and it helps you become more of who you are meant to be in this lifetime as a result of this occurrence. The other thing I would say here is, yeah, I mean, there could be some financial discussions going on that are very shocking or unexpected. And also there could be unexpected expenses involving your children, or your children could just be a little bit more wild and rebellious right now. And it's kind of like, they're all over the place. What's going on here? And that could just be as simple as that. And so that's what's going on for Capricorn. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising. So for Aquarius, this full or new moon energy is happening in your 7th house, which is the house of connections, partnership, contracts, agreements. And so there could be a fresh perspective that comes to you through your connections one-on-one with other people. This is also in a really nice trine with Jupiter, which is stationing to go retrograde in your 3rd house of communication. And so connecting and communicating one-on-one with people is likely to give you a fresh perspective on a difficult situation. And so while changes are occurring in your life, make sure that you're talking it out with someone. Make sure that you're bouncing these ideas or getting input from others and actually being really open to that input, because that's really going to help you to gain a new perspective and to see the light at the end of the tunnel, to see where this could all be heading in a positive direction. There is a lot of disruption going on for Aquarius because you are a fixed sign, and this is hitting all four corners of the sort of structural, more physical areas of your chart. And so, especially in the area of home, family, property, real estate, I would say a lot of Aquarians might be moving or all of a sudden changing course when it comes to your home or your location. Maybe all of a sudden you feel really frustrated and fed up with your living situation and you decide you're going to move across the country or to a different country or to a different home, or you're going to renovate your home. There could be like a disruption to a contract or an agreement involving your home, so like a rental contract or a mortgage. There could also be disruptive communications with family members, especially close family members. That could be very shocking and very jarring, and that could change the way that you deal with your family, like in a very powerful or a very big way. It could cause you to sever ties or create new connections. And so it really depends on how this is panning out for you. But just think about how the long-term impacts of this. So think about before you make any rash decisions, like maybe you have a family member that says something that is just crossing a line. Think about what the impact of your reaction or your response to this situation will be in the long term, not just right now because you're uncomfortable, but like 5 years in the future before you respond to that situation. That's going to be a good rule of thumb for anyone during this time period. You might have changes also going on in your career and out in the world. You might be leaving an old job in favor of a new one or in favor of an opportunity in a different location. And you personally are letting go and shedding your old skin when it comes to past conditioning. You're becoming more of who you are. And so a lot is up for change right now, Aquarius. But the end result of this is you feeling much more liberated, much more free, much more excited about everything that goes on behind the scenes, especially when it comes to your home, your place of living, and your connection with your family members. There's going to be a little bit of rattling of cages going on here. There's going to be some disruption. It might not feel comfortable, but the end result is going to feel so liberating for you, and it's aligning you to where you're meant to go, even if in the moment you might not understand that. So that's what's going on for Aquarius. For Pisces and for Pisces rising. So for Pisces, this new moon is happening in your 6th house, which is the house of work, health, and daily routines. And so that's where you're going to find a fresh sense of perspective on all of the changes that are occurring in your life right now. Focusing on your routines, focusing on your health, focusing on your nutrition, focusing on the day-to-day grind is going to kind of give you a greater sense of perspective. It's almost going to kind of ground you and help you to make sense of everything else that might be shifting and changing, which for Pisces, it's not as challenging. It's actually, I think, going to be much more liberating and exciting for you, especially on a mental level as well as a physical level. But this energy is also in trine, this new moon energy is in trine with Jupiter, which is stationing to go retrograde in your 2nd house of finances. And so this could show you where new ideas, new experiences, new adventures could lead to financial opportunity in the future. And you're going to be able to see it from that optimistic perspective, especially during that first week of the new lunar cycle. This Mars-Uranus North Node conjunction is happening in your 3rd house. There could be a shocking, unexpected occurrence that happens involving a vehicle or a mode of transportation or your daily commute. There could be something that comes out of the blue that you have to change involving your neighbors, your neighborhood, your community, or something that causes you to have to change your kind of day-to-day interactions with those things. I would say for some places, there could even be something like protests going on or something like that that explode very suddenly, and it just disrupts your ability to commute or to go to a certain place or to connect with certain people. And that could be part of it too. There's definitely an energy here where your mindset or your ideas about something are going to change based on your communication on a day-to-day basis with other people. So some message could come in and it changes your perspective or mindset, and that could be actually quite jarring to you, where this new information has to be rectified with this old information, and you realize that you can't hold both perspectives or both sets of information simultaneously. Like one of these needs to be thrown out, and that could be actually like an uncomfortable experience for some Pisces people. I would also say that there could be some uncomfortable conversations involving your work, your coworkers, your employees, if you have any, especially if you have employees, where you get a message and it's kind of like having you all like enraged. So you want to just make sure that if that does happen, that you're taking the time to think about it, to think about the unintended consequences of your response to this situation, to think about, you know, how this is going to impact you and that relationship, or maybe even your employment well into the future. This is also the case I mentioned before for one of the other signs, that this could be not just someone like employees, like if you're in a management position or you own a business. This also represents people who you employ to do things for you, like we kind of all do in the service industry. So it could be that you have someone, you know, fixing your car, and they say something and it's really off kilter, or they do something and it's like, I don't really like that. And it causes a dispute. It could be like your nail technician, you know, says something that's inappropriate or that you don't like. Like it could be something like that as well, where it's like, do I really need to make this a big deal? Or, you know, can I let this go? Or how should I approach this so that way in the future it doesn't impact us both in a negative way? And so that could be coming up for you too. There could be, there's a need to kind of pull back a little bit too and spend some time in seclusion, but there's also a need to go out and have an adventure. It's kind of happening at the same time. So have an adventure that's going to give you a new sense of perspective, but also kind of be a reprieve for you in a lot of ways. And that's what's going on for Pisces. And so that's my forecast for all 12 signs. In the next 2 weeks, we're going to be discussing the full moon in the sign of Aquarius, which is another major activation of this energy of the T-square that we were discussing in this week. This is going to be a full kind of just, this is going to be like the culmination of a lot of what has gone down, a lot of what has been started and initiated, that has been very fated, very karmic, very destined, very synchronistic, but also very tense and intense over this 2-week period. It's going to be reaching its boiling point. It's going to be starting to manifest fully around the time of that full moon in Aquarius. And so we're going to talk about that really in detail in 2 weeks. And so make sure that you're subscribed to my channel if you're not already, so that way you don't miss this important astrology update. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please like it and share it with your friends if you feel like they can benefit from the information I share with you today. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.